Now on RTV6, the countdown to Election Day, the final days of campaigning before the votes are counted. Tonight, we look at the top races in Indiana and races around the country that could change the balance of power in Washington, and what you need to know before you cast your ballot.
This is an RTV6 News Special, Democracy 2014.
And good evening, I'm Todd Connor, and welcome to this RTV6 Special, part of our Democracy 2014 coverage. We are now just 4 days from Election Day in Indiana, and right now we're focusing on the big issues before the polls open. This is a year that doesn't include a race for president, Indiana governor, or U.S. Senate, but does feature 3 important statewide races and a score of local races of note, of course. We start with RTV6 State House reporter Katie Hines.
The top race on the ballot is Secretary of State, the state's top election official. It's one of the few races that you may have seen ads for on TV during this election cycle. Republican Connie Lawson is looking for a full term in office after replacing Charlie White. And Democrat Beth White is looking to move from the Marion County Clerk's office here to the State House.
We're 48th out of the 50 states and people who vote who are eligible to vote. And we also have the strictest voting laws in the country. And I don't think those two things are a coincidence. I think they're connected. We have strict poll closing times, the earliest in the country.
As a state senator, I was a champion of promoting voting by making it more accessible for a voter to decide when and where they go vote. You know, we have been promoting vote centers, which really do create extra locations for a voter to vote early as well as on election day, more flexibility.
This is the one statewide race that Democrats think they have the best chance of winning on Tuesday night. We'll be live with both candidates as those results come in. Katie Hines, RTV6.
Now, there are 2 other statewide races on the ballot this year. One of them, state auditor, the state's chief financial officer. Republican Suzanne Crouch is looking for election to her first full term in office. She replaced Tim Berry when he resigned to become party chairman last year. She faces Democrat Mike Claytor, who touts himself as the first ever CPA to run for the office, and Libertarian John Schick. And Indiana will elect a new state treasurer on Tuesday. This is the job Richard Murdoch vacated earlier this year to cash in on his state retirement. The candidates, Republican Kelly Mitchell, a former Cass County commissioner who has worked in the treasurer's office the past 6 years, and Democrat Mike Boland, who promised to donate his entire salary to charity if he wins, and Libertarian Mike Jasper.
Most counties in central Indiana will elect some top leaders, and that includes Marion County. The most watched race has to be the one for Marion County Sheriff. Democrat John Layton is trying for a second term in office. He has served 40 years in the Sheriff's Department and is a native of Indianapolis. His Republican challenger, Emmett Carney, he spent 31 years in law enforcement, including 25 years with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Our Rafael Sanchez sat down with both men on Indianapolis this week.
I'm attacking what the sheriff has allowed to go on. The early release of prisoners, the budget that's out of hand. The budget has increased about $39 million since they went with the merger. And they need to understand that the merger is something that he, the sheriff, and Frank Anderson sat down and came up with this proposal of what they would do. Since the merger, the budget again has went up about $39 million, and it's went from 800 employees to around 1,300 or 1,100. So it shows me that there's something wrong.
An election where there's some desperation. Reach down in that bag of desperation and pull out whatever you can to try to throw out there to get the voters confused and, you know, get them thinking a different way. But the mere fact that, you know, our budget has been approved by the mayor every single year, they get it. The mayor's office, the city and county controller, city county council, they see those health care prices rise. They see and they understand.
And we are following more races in Marion County, including for prosecutor, clerk, auditor, and recorder. There are also several key races for school boards.
And that includes Indianapolis Public Schools. 5 seats are on Tuesday's ballot. Ray Steele, with our news gathering partners at WIBC, is following those races.
Reform versus, I don't want to say the status quo, but what the teachers unions would prefer to see as far as how instruction is laid out, what they are allowed to do, and what or how they should be teaching kids. the reform measures, some of which have been put in by Dr. Farabee, the superintendent, already, not exactly popular with the teacher unions. So you have a couple of forces, some on the board aligned with the teachers union and some who are aligned with more reform-minded groups like Stand for Children Indiana, which is heavily involved in the race this year.
Now, along with school board races, we're tracking another very important education vote in Bartholomew County. Voters there are being asked to approve a tax increase to help pay for pre-K services for children in lower-income families.
Coming up on our Democracy 2014 special, the fight for control in Washington. We take a look at the U.S. Senate races that could change the balance of power in Washington. And our political insiders face off on whether Republicans will have a huge election victory nationwide.
And welcome back to this Democracy 2014 special. While the races in Indiana have sparked little enthusiasm overall, there will be big drama playing out on the national stage. We'll be watching results from around the country to see if Republicans can win control of the U.S. Senate. Our partners at ABC News are tracking 11 races that are still very, very close right now. In fact, they list 5 of them as toss-ups. You see them on the map in purple right there. 2 others, New Hampshire and North Carolina, are considered leaning Democrat, and 4 lean Republican, including the Alaska Senate race. The current split in the Senate is essentially 55-45 for Democrats. We'll also be watching as voters in 36 states will elect governors. Most polls show only around 10 of those governors' races are still competitive at this point. That includes 3 right around us, Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin, where Democrats are hoping to unseat Scott Walker after his showdown with labor unions over a right-to-work law, among other issues.
So what is the likelihood of a Republican takeover of the Senate, and what are the key races to watch right here in Indiana? Indianapolis This Week host Rafael Sanchez puts those questions to our political insiders.
It is now time for our political insiders. Give to the Democrat, Abdul Hakim Shabazz with IndyPolitics.org. The turnout in Indiana, will we see anyone come out and vote on Tuesday?
Well, you know, it is a low turnout prediction. Part of that is because there hasn't been a lot of advertising, so folks aren't as engaged in the campaign process this year, and that's always a difficult thing for TV stations. Don't cover it as much, newspapers don't cover the stories as much if there's not TV advertising. So I'm afraid we're going to have a lower turnout election, and it could create some big surprises.
This is going to be a base turnout general election, if that makes sense. The only people who are really
who wants it more?
Yeah, exactly. Who wants it more? Is it Republicans who want to hold on to what they have? Do Democrats want it more than the Republicans? Because right now everybody has basically forgotten about the undecided and independent voter. It is get out your base. Republicans trying to get out their people. Democrats trying to get out their people.
What race will you be watching?
Well, here locally, I think there's not a lot of races to watch. There's some state legislative races around the state that are going to be interesting. I think it's going to be really fascinating to watch what happens along the Ohio River down in southern Indiana. In Kentucky, they have a very hot contested United States Senate race that has gotten lots of television advertising bleed over into the state of Indiana. I expect turnout along the river to be higher than it is in the rest of the state.
Are you watching a specific race?
One race is kind of a barometer for me as to how well Republicans and Democrats would do is House District 92. That's on the west side of Indianapolis and sort of the Wayne Township area. Carly Macer at Bradford Moulton. It's a very competitive district, the way it's drawn, like 37, 35, like 25 RD independent. And if Macer holds on, I mean, that's going to be good news for the Democrats. But if she goes, that's a canary in the coal mine.
Of course, the independent's in jail right now. It's a 3-way race, and he's in jail for stalking Carly Macer. So, I mean, that I think Carly's going to be fine.
The big picture, though, on Election Day will be the control of the U.S. Senate. Is that what we'll be talking about Wednesday morning?
I think so. I mean, we've got the Republicans need to take 6 seats to take over the United States Senate.
Will they take them?
Democrats are competing.
Right now, it looks like at the very least, they're guaranteed 3. I mean, but this is swinging so back and forth. I think it just basically, whoever has momentum going into Election Day, that's who's going to determine who gets it.
And Democrats are sort of racing against the wind here in this respect, because a lot of those open Senate seats are in Republican-leaning states, the ones that Mitt Romney carried in 2012.
Is that an excuse?
But no, but not necessarily, because Republicans actually should be running away with this, historically speaking. The fact that some of these races are so close and so tied, once again, it's that angry electorate and who shows up.
And considering the economy, the last time a Republican was supposed to win the presidency, right? So, I mean, we saw a surprise.
The economy's in pretty good shape. Gas prices are down. You look at all the usual indicators. We should be in a different.
We are creating jobs because my cousin has 4 of them. So.
You never know what Abdul and Kip are going to say. They have more to say Sunday mornings at 8:30 on Indianapolis This Week. We hope you join us then.
You're right about that. So what are the final things you need to know before going to vote Tuesday? Those answers next, right here on RTV6.
And welcome back to this Democracy 2014 special. We want to make sure you get to vote on Tuesday. If you live in Marion County, we can help you find your polling place. Just go to our website, theindychannel.com, and look in the hot button. We have a link to the county's polling place locator. And wherever you vote, remember you will need to have a photo ID issued by either the state or federal government. That includes a driver's license or a military ID. If you're a student at a public college in Indiana, you may also be able to use your student ID.
RTV6 will have your most up-to-date and accurate election returns Tuesday night as soon as the polls close. We'll have those starting on the news at 6. You'll also find the best online results on our website, theindychannel.com, of course, and on our RTV6 app. The results will be grouped so they're actually easy for you to find, and we'll have a quick top races segment to watch throughout the night. So everything you need to know right there. And we thank you for joining us for this Democracy 2014 special. Stay with RTV6, theindychannel.com, and our RTV6 app for your best election coverage all the way through Election Day. We are here for you. And for Erica Fly, Rafael Sanchez, Katie Hines, and our entire team here at RTV6, we hope you have a great night.
Thank you for choosing RTV6 News. Always stay connected. Download the RTV6 app for your mobile device.